All right. It's 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on this Saturday, August 29th, the last Saturday in August of 2026. I am Wes, the creator and co host and social media manager of this Star Trek podcast called Twin Cities Trekkies, a Star Trek podcast talking about everything from the original Star Trek all the way to Star Trek Starfleet Academy and everything in between. And this is live episode number 22, talking about the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 4, Episode 6, Off Hour. Before we get into the discussion of and other things on my mind, I want to let you guys know that the chat is open. So if you are sticking around and joining this live stream, be sure to pop yourselves in the chat and say hello. What to get in touch with us, it is simple. Send us an email at trekkies@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email with anything you'd like to say. If this episode of Strange New Worlds was one of your favorite episodes, it was a great episode, but not one of my favorites. You can let us know, and I'll gladly read your email on the air. If you want to leave us a comment on social media, that's perfectly fine as well. The handle for Facebook is TC Trekkies Pod. The Instagram account is Twin Cities Trekkies Pod, all one word. Or you can find us on Blue Sky when you search out TC Trekkies, or search us out on TikTok by going to search out TC on Twin Cities Trekkie. If you want to leave us a comment on Spotify, when the episode's live stream audio will drop on Tuesday, you can definitely do that. Navigate to that episode in the Spotify feed, type your comment there, and post it. It takes about 1 day for the comment to reach back to us via an email. But just keep in mind that any emails or comments could be read on a future episode of Twin Cities Trekkies. Wow. Well, let's talk about a few things that are on my mind first before we talk about the episode of Strange New Worlds. First of all, I am exploring to doing more content creation for Twin Cities Trekkies, mainly doing more videos and stuff like that, because I know people who do podcasts and stuff like that generally do branch out into videos and other things regarding that. And I might just start doing that, doing stuff with content creation and stuff like that moving forward. There's a lot of people who are interested in seeing more than just the live shows and more things about than the actual podcast episodes and stuff like that. I mean, we've been on the air for 5.5 years. I think it's time to branch out further. I really think it is. So I'm working on trying to get some additional equipment for it. I'll work on that and try to get, if we're going to be doing stuff at hopefully we'll know next month about Twin Cities Con, but doing the panel and stuff like that again. But definitely gonna try to do that, and that'll be a lot of fun to do. Regarding that, I'm working on trying to do that. I'm also going to be at the Minnesota State Fair on Tuesday. Not doing it for any content related content things, but I could potentially probably do it in the future if I wanted to. That'd be interesting. Twin Cities Trekkies live from the State Fair. That'd be fun. And that'd be a lot of fun. But definitely, I'll explore doing that. And hopefully Kenzie can be on board with it too. And stuff like that. We can definitely try to explore more avenues to get this podcast seen and stuff like that. Try to get content creation at Convergence, maybe at Twin Cities Con, maybe at other conventions around the Twin Cities that are sci-fi related and stuff like that. Maybe down the line we could probably be at Trek Long Island or at Star Trek Las Vegas or any of the other Star Trek related conventions. I'm trying to branch it out further. I'm trying to. So a couple of guest appearances I'll be making soon. One will be on the Undiscovered podcast again, talking about Twilight. That will be in mid-September. Along with, I found out there's this new podcast called To Sick and Tired Podcast. And it's about, people who have chronic illnesses and stuff like that, or have neurodivergency and stuff like that. Me. I've been on the I you know me. I'm on the autism spectrum. So I'm doing an episode of that, and I don't know when that episode will drop, but once we do, I will let you guys know. So the Sick and Tired podcast, it just launched this month. So I did fill out their guest form, and I'm going to be on the show next month sometime um, regarding that, and definitely can do that. And I'll let you. And I'll probably, if it's possible, I would probably make an episode of the pod. Same with the other one too. I'm sure it'll be okay. I know. I just need to ask, and I'm sure it'd be just fine. I could probably get the one I did with Nick Earhart a couple years ago as a part of this pod. So maybe we'll try to take a little break from doing Star Trek content for those 2 weeks. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But definitely, I want you guys to know about what's going on with that. Man, folks, we lost a few good celebrities over the past couple weeks. I didn't even bother to mention it because they're not part of the Star Trek franchise, but they are giants in the entertainment industry that we probably should mention. First of all, Hayden Panettiere. She was indirectly related to Star Trek. She had worked with a few of the Star Trek guest actors or main stars over the course of her career. She passed away at the age of 37. 36, shortly before her 37th birthday. So she was the same age as me. She worked alongside Dave Foley, who's been a part of Star Trek twice as guest star, most recently in the episode Human Best Friend. But she provided the voice of Dot when she was a child for Disney Pixar's A Bug's Life. She also started alongside Zachary Quinto in Heroes. Quinto was the villain. She was one of the heroes. The biggest one we lost this past week was Dolly Parton. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that she's just said a few days prior to her death was that she'll be okay. She'll be okay. And then a few days later, she wasn't. She was dead. And while she did not appear anywhere on Star Trek, we do talk about the Orville once in a while on this pod. We haven't talked about the Orville for a little bit, but she made a memorable guest appearance in season 3 of the Orville. And I thought it was really cool what they did with that, how she was able to be a part of the show and how they were able to integrate her into the episode, Apparently, they had sent half that set that she was on and sent it to her home in Nashville. And they set it up there, and she was able to film her scenes. And then they integrated the footage into the episode. So she was indirectly related to the franchise because we do talk about the Orville once in a while. And she was a part of that episode of the Orville, which actually is one of my favorite episodes from season 3. Actually, the whole third season is great. So we lost Dolly Parton. She was that one stung for a little bit. That one still stings. She's gone at the age of 80. Then the day after that, we lost Tim Curry. From me personally, the things I knew him from, I had only seen bits and pieces of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and a little bit of It, which was he played Pennywise in the 1990 miniseries, based upon the book. But the two things I knew him from were the crazy villainous concierge of the Plaza Hotel in Home Alone 2, and as the voice of Nigel Thornberry and Wild Thornberries. So those are the only two things I knew him from and stuff like that. And I had no idea he actually had been one of the sumo wrestlers in Rugrats in Paris. I did not know that till the other day, where until Cheryl Chase, who voices Angelica Pickles, who voiced her in the original series, the films, and the subsequent reboot, had mentioned that. I had no idea that he was in that movie, but definitely those are the two things from my childhood I enjoy. The Wild Thornberries and uh, and Home Alone 2 is actually my favorite one of the two Home Alone movies that Macaulay Culkin starred in. So it's actually my favorite of the two. So I'm just a weird person like that. So I like the second one better than the first. So I thought the first second one was better, even though it was like a rehash of the first one, but it was better. I think it was better. I think it was. So yeah, we've lost some very heavy people, big people in the entertainment industry lately. It's crazy, you know, with the loss of Dolly Parton and the loss of Tim Curry and Hayden Panettiere, and it's just crazy, you know. Oh yeah, oh I forgot Peter Cullen. Uh, I almost forgot him, Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime for about 40 plus years. He had voiced him as far back as the Transformers the Transformers TV theatrical film from 1986, 1985, 86. Um, and he had voiced him for several of the big budget Transformers films. But he actually had been on Star Trek, not necessarily in an episode, so to speak, but he did voice a few things for Star Trek as a voiceover person. He voiced a couple of TV promos for a couple episodes of Star Trek, most notably TNG's Conundrum, which is a fifth season episode that aired back in February of 1992. In my opinion, is one of the more underrated episodes of the Next Generation. And then also DS9's Tribunal, which is the next to last episode of season 2 of Deep Space Nine, and aired in June of 1994. But then he also voiced, I think, one of the best video promos for Star Trek, and we had talked about it actually on Jeffrey from Renegade Shipyards, and I talked about it on an episode of this podcast when we talked about Star Trek 6. We talked about the VHS home video release of Star Trek 6, and how we talked about there was we talked about the teaser trailer for Star Trek 6, how it was voiced by Christopher Plummer. But then we also talked about a couple of those movie trailer TV like video trailers that were at the head of each, at least the first run of the home video release of Star Trek 6 shortly after it came out on VHS. There was a promo for Star Trek films, and it was a promo for Star Trek's 25th anniversary kind of thing. It was talked about the 5 previous films on VHS. They also talked about the original series. They did Paramount Home Videos do these things called the Director's Series, in which they had a little bit of featurette at the head of the tape about how the movie was made and stuff like that. There was only a handful of those movies that were made like that. One of them was Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home, and there was a promo for that, and also the first season of Next Generation on VHS. Which I know that people tend to view season 1 of Next Gen as being terrible, but definitely Peter Cullen voiced that. So I posted a couple of those videos where a couple of those promos that he did, remembering his voice and stuff like that, because he did those things for Star Trek, mainly for Paramount, but definitely for Star Trek. He did a couple of, like I said, a couple of TV episodes, a couple of TV episode promos when Don LaFontaine was not available to do it, or Eric Anderson, who did the first 3.5 seasons of Next Gen, because he would say Star Trek, you know. But he also, when Don LaFontaine, who was originally from Duluth, Minnesota, if you could believe that. So we had a Minnesotan voicing Star Trek TV promos for a number of years. Um, so we had that going on. So when he wasn't available and Eric Anderson wasn't available, they would call on Peter Cullen. And Peter Cullen did a couple of episodes for Star Trek. He did a TNG episode. He did a DS9 episode. You can go check out those promos. I think they're circulated all over YouTube, especially on Trek Core's site, on channel. Go check them out. They actually have a 30-second one, a 15-second one, a 10-second one, and a 5-second one for those two episodes. So you can hear Peter Cullen more than 30 seconds at a time. So, but those are the two. But definitely the one I remember more was the Conundrum episode of Next Gen. And like I said, I think it's one of the more underrated episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Especially because I think it's just one of the straight action adventure stories. I think it's I think it's one of the more underrated episodes of Star Trek: Next Generation. So it's in the middle. It's near the end of the 5th season. It's like we're about 3/4 of the way through the season when that episode drops. When that episode airs, I should say. So, but it's a great episode. I highly recommend you watch it. I think it's one of the more underrated episodes of The Next Generation. So go check it out. So check out that, and then like I said, a couple of guest appearances coming soon, and I will try to get the 60 Years of the Final Frontier restarted in September, probably like mid-September. I'm trying to get that done. So definitely like that, and it's going to be a crazy part of the month too because I'm just going to mention it too. My wife's got a new job. She'll get a new job. She'll start near the end of the month. So it's going to be kind of chaotic and stuff like that. So I'm just going to tell you it's going to be interesting coming around the next few weeks and months and next year. So, anywho, since I see nobody here, it's okay. It's okay. I don't mind talking into the void. Let's talk about off hour. Now, I was a little bit confused by the little shipboard thing at first. Because shipboard time, because it was we were about it set about 45 minutes before the end of Alpha shift was going to be done for the day, and and then pretty much shit hits the fan. Pretty much, you got the Enterprise gets sucked into a slipstream wormhole, and is going at breakneck speed, and I was like, this is definitely an episode that was really great. I think this is something that, where was this the last few weeks? A lot of people have been saying that, and even Jason and Jace from Captain's Quadrant. I watch their show every night, every Friday. So because eventually I want this podcast to be part of their podcast federation. So the episode is it's run in real time. It's done in real time, and a lot of things hit the fan. A lot of shit hits the fan. So pretty much. But this episode definitely took its inspiration from. Obviously, there was some inspiration behind the episode, mainly the Pit, which is I've actually seen a few episodes of that. It's a fantastic show. And speaking of the Pit, the Pit cast is going to do for the 60th anniversary celebration of Star Trek. They're going to be doing a live script reading of The Man Trap. So with Noah Wiley playing Captain Kirk, so doing Captain Kirk. And Taylor Dearden as Mr. Spock. And the rest of the cast doing the various roles. So I've been meaning to think about buying a live stream ticket so I can watch it. because I think that'd be fun to watch. Um, but I definitely took this inspiration from like 24, The Pit, and stuff like that. Things happening in real time. So the episode is fantastic. I think it borrowed inspiration from those things, and also the Poseidon Adventure, which is a disaster movie from 1976. Actually, from the 70s, but it was remade, and it was remade with Kurt Russell, but in 2006. But but I thought the episode was just great. It definitely took its inspiration. There's an episode that reminds people who are Star Trek wise would remind you of the episode from the Next Generation called Disaster. It's an episode early in the fifth season. Speaking of the fifth season of Next Gen, um, um, so we were talking about that. So it's an episode about a disaster happening on the Enterprise. People are separated, and they have to come up with solutions trying to survive. Well, it's the same thing, but it's a little different because stuff like that. But it was great. The episode was great. We got to see. We got this. I think it's TNG's disaster on steroids without the kids, and without the screen, without the crying kids. And it's nothing personal. I think the episode is just fantastic. Definitely had great character development for most of the characters. Most of the characters have gotten character development with this episode. A lot. Um, we got to see more of the relationship that Mbenga has with Chapel. We got to see um, some callbacks to the original series. Mainly, we got Dr. Boyce again for the first time since the Menagerie, but also since the first pilot. And he's played by a veteran actor of Star Trek. So Brian Michelson, I think is his last name. He was in Next Generation. He was in Deep Space Nine, and he was in Voyager. So if you want to go see more of his work in Star Trek, go watch. There's an episode, the episode Homeward. Yeah, is it Homeward? Yeah, Homeward from the Next Generation, in the cards from Deep Space Nine, and a couple episodes from Voyager's first season. Cathetics, yes, and Faces. So, but he appeared. Yeah, he's appeared four. This is his fifth time, so he's a five-timer of Star Trek, and this is the first time he's appeared in the modern era. So, this modern era, I should say. So, as Dr. Boyce. Too bad it's not Jeffrey Combs. I actually had a petition out there to get him to be Dr. Boyce, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. It would have been interesting to have Jeffrey Combs, though. But this episode definitely was a roller coaster ride. I enjoyed it immensely. It's actually a lot of people were going like after the whole gimmicks so far this season, such as traveling back in time to the dinosaurs, a film noir, a horror episode, a body horror episode, a really bad, not a really strong horror episode, a really bad version of Dude, Where's My Car, a film noir, and the Muppets. They were thinking like, this is gonna be another gimmick episode. Well, I don't feel like it's stealing from anything. This was actually a pretty good, strong episode of the series, and it shows the potential of what it really could have been. What could have been without all the gimmicks that we've had in the last I would say roughly the last 3.5 seasons. Because now I'm gonna say that's when the season 1, episode 8, All Those Who Wander, is when the show jumped the shark, and hasn't really fully hasn't fully jumped back into the boat ever since. But don't get me wrong, some of the gimmicky episodes have been great. I love the Muppet episode. I know many people didn't. And I just and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Muppet episode. I enjoyed the travel back in time to dinosaurs. I enjoyed the film noir episode. I enjoyed um, the horror episode, and and so there were some episodes from season three. Definitely, Wedding Bell Blues was one a good one. Terrarium was another good one. But like I said, season three was a all declining quality. But then you got gimmick episodes in season two, such as Subspace Rhapsody, those old scientists, the crossover with Lower Decks, and stuff like that. So there've been some good gimmicky episodes of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. It's just now we're getting close to the end. We have less than 10 episodes left. Now we have 11 episodes left. So yeah, 11 episodes left after today, and I was just thinking maybe you know this is what the episode this past week was one episode that I enjoyed immensely. It was a roller coaster ride, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Um, I really thought it was a great episode. A great character development. Got an original series character. Got an original character reappearing after almost 60 years, and we also have stuff like that. I mean, I thought there was some kind of like I don't know animosity, but between Boyce and Benga, but who knows? But I don't know. But it's okay. I'm not complaining about it. And it's a great episode, great character development. I give it a 5 out of 5 easily. I mean, yeah. I mean, I also like the fact that we got character development for Scotty. Before I forget, before I end this, um, Peolia kind of appealed to his humanity and said that starships can be miracles. You just have to listen for it. And then he takes that word of advice, and that's pretty much what he's known for the rest of his time as a part of the franchise. You know, and I thought it was a great character development for Scotty too. I think he's gonna temper his mood and stuff like that, being more of a in tune with the ship rather than worrying about what other people think. And that's I think we have a Scotty. We had a Scotty before this episode who was very insecure, inexperienced, and is insecure. And I thought this episode really gave him gave him a chance to shine. Definitely Martin Quinn, who plays Scotty in Strange New Worlds, has done a fantastic job being a part of this series for almost 2 full seasons now. Um, and I thought he did a fantastic job of, talking about honing in what eventually becomes James Doohan's Scotty and stuff like that. I've always wondered to know what Chris Doohan has thought of him. I wonder about that because I know that Chris Hunter, who I'm friends with on Facebook, had given approval to Anson Mount when he was cast as Christopher Pike. Um, I'm just curious what Chris Doohan thinks about it. So I don't know, but I've always wanted to know. So because he gave his approval to Simon Pegg, who played him in the Kelvin universe. So I'm curious. If anybody knows, let me know. But I've always wanted to know that. So, all right. Well, we will be back next week, next Saturday. Try to get more people on the Saturday before Labor Day, which will be September 5th, as we talk about the next episode of Strange Worlds, which is about chronotons and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting because apparently it's going to be like another humorous episode. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to give it a fair shake before I give it my feelings. But overall, off hour, fantastic episode of Strange New Worlds. I'm not sure about next week, but I'm going to give it a shot. So it's going to be fun. So until next week, everybody, take care and live long and prosper.